You open your eyes. The air from the air conditioner scratches your throat with dry cold. Your hands are tightly shackled with steel cuffs. A massive chain on your waist is connected to heavy leg irons. The windowless bus roars blindly down an empty highway. Armed guards in black tactical gear sit across from you. They look right through you with transparent, glassy stares. No one utters a single word. To get here, you have to do something extraordinary. Ordinary murderers or bank robbers serve their time in standard maximum security prisons. They send those who killed a guard here, those who orchestrated an escape from another federal prison, or those whose influence can run a syndicate from right behind bars. The bus brakes sharply at high concrete gates lined with barbed wire. This is ADX Florence, the infamous Alcatraz of the Rockies, the most secure prison in the United States of America. They do not do rehabilitation here. They do isolation. You are led out of the bus. A guard roughly shoves you in the back with a baton. Your legs get tangled in the heavy chains on the steps. In the receiving room, they force you to strip naked. The search procedure is humiliating, methodical, and absolutely sterile. You are handed a standard orange jumpsuit and slip-on shoes. Welcome to the control unit, ADC's control unit. Early morning, 5:30 in the morning. A harsh fluorescent light suddenly flicks on. It will not turn off until the dead of night. Your new universe is 2 by 3.5 meters, 6 by 11 feet. Absolutely everything here is cast from solid gray concrete. Your bed is just a concrete slab protruding from the wall. A thin mattress made of fire-resistant material lies on it. Your desk and stool are exactly the same monolithic blocks. The window is located right under the ceiling, only 10 centimeters, 4 inches wide. It is designed at a tricky angle, so you only see a strip of sky. You will never see the ground, the mountains, or the horizon line. The architects designed everything so you would forever forget where you are. The metal flap of the food slot clicks dryly in the steel door. This is your breakfast, served in a gray plastic tray. Watery oatmeal, a piece of unleavened bread, and a glass of lukewarm milk. The guard wears special shoes with soft rubber soles. He silently takes the tray back exactly 10 minutes later. Everything happens in absolute, terrifying, ringing silence. You have a built-in shower that operates from a button on the wall. The water runs for exactly 3 minutes, and then the system automatically blocks it. The stainless steel toilet is strictly forbidden to be flushed twice in a row. The system shuts off the water for 10 minutes so no one can cause a flood. You are not allowed to have a TV. You are not allowed to have a radio. Your only entertainment is your own thoughts, and that is your most dangerous enemy. Hansen's solitary cell. Daytime, 3 years have passed. Your behavior has been absolutely perfect. Not a single complaint, not a single yell at a guard, not a single attempt to break the sink. The system transfers you to the Hansen. This is the first stage of the so-called step-down program. The only way to get out of isolation. Here the rules change slightly. The cell looks exactly the same, but now you have a 13-inch black and white TV. It is encased in a bulletproof glass dome. There are only a few channels: educational programming, religion, news. The TV becomes your only window into reality. You can earn 1 phone window a month. 15 minutes of conversation, fully recorded. Your mother's voice on the other end of the line sounds like a hallucination. You are let out of your cell for exactly 1 hour a day. You spend 23 straight hours in the box. Now they put you in handcuffs just to walk down an empty corridor. The guards push you into the recreational concrete yard. Inmates call this structure the empty swimming pool. It is a deep concrete pit outside, covered with a thick steel mesh. There are no other people here, nor any equipment, only bare ice-cold walls and a gray sky high above the grate. You start walking in circles aimlessly from wall to wall, 60 minutes, then back to the cell. In the unit, you learn methods of informal communication. Inmates use the sewer pipes as intercoms. If you scoop the water out of the toilet, it becomes an acoustic pipe. This is called a water phone. You can hear the muffled, distorted voice of the neighbor below. But if a guard hears you, you are sent back to the control unit. No TV again. Zero contact again. You decide whether the sound of another person's voice is worth losing hard-earned privileges. What do? Choose. Drain the water and talk to your neighbor, or lie on the bed and stare at the ceiling. Step down unit day room. Early morning, 5 years, in total isolation. Your psyche has cracked, but you held on. The correction algorithm deems you ready for the second stage, the step-down unit. This is an incredible breakthrough. Today, the cell doors open simultaneously. You and 3 other inmates are released into a small day room, daylight, light, a table, 3 other people. Your brain experiences sensory shock. You haven't seen anyone except armor-clad guards for thousands of days. You sit at the table. One of them is a former cartel member. The second is a bank robber prone to escapes. The third is a serial killer. But right now you are just for people who desperately want to keep this status. The rules of the step-down unit are brutal. If one of you starts a fight, all 4 go straight back to the control unit. Collective responsibility. The prison forces you to guard each other. The bank robber accidentally bumps your shoulder as he walks by. The survival instinct, sharpened by solitary screams, strike first. In prison, showing weakness gets you punished. But if you strike, you lose everything. You will end up back in the concrete coffin with no sounds. You tense your muscles. You look him in the eye. He slowly raises his hands, showing it was an accident. You nod. The conflict is over. You sit down to eat. For the first time in 5 years, you are not eating alone on a concrete slab. This is the taste of victory over a system that tried to erase your identity. General Population Transit Zone. Daytime, 8 years in ADX Florence. You have completed all stages of the step-down program. You proved that you can be around people without attempting murder. Your belongings are packed in one plastic bag. The guards no longer look at you as an explosive object. They look at you as a completed phase. You are being transferred to a standard maximum security prison, a USP. This is not freedom. You still have 30 years to serve, but a USP has a cafeteria. It has jobs in the kitchen or the laundry room. It has a yard where hundreds of people play basketball. It has a library. When you first step into the general yard of the USP, the noise hits your ears with physical pain. Screams, laughter, the sound of basketballs hitting the asphalt, the clanking of iron in the weight area. Your eyes water from the abundance of colors and movement. After the black and white silent movie of ADX, this feels like a hallucination, but you survived. You kept your sanity. Many could not. They stayed in the control unit forever, talking to the concrete walls. The screen slowly fades to black. You just survived a harsh simulation of the strictest isolation on the planet. It is time to break down exactly what this experience does to the human mind. Jimmy's office, archive. A dim incandescent lamp casts a yellow light on the dark wooden wall panels. A grown man in a beige trench coat sits at a massive oak desk. This is Detective Jimmy. He sets a mug of black coffee on the table and looks at you intently. Torture became sterile and bureaucratic a very long time ago, he says quietly. In ADX Florence, no one beats you. They just carefully erase you with an eraser. Jimmy opens a thick archive folder with the real files of actual inmates. Let's break down what you just experienced firsthand. Remember the first day in the control unit. This brings us to the main and most terrifying phenomenon of absolute isolation. Phenomenon 1, SHU Syndrome. That is the official name for Special Housing Unit Syndrome. This is the extreme form of human sensory deprivation. Our brain evolved to constantly and greedily process information. When that information is gone, the brain starts falling into deep panic. It cannot shut down, so it generates its own stimuli. Brutal visual and uncontrollable auditory hallucinations begin. Paranoia reaches its absolute and dangerous limit. Jimmy pulls out a photo of the famous terrorist Ted Kaczynski. Even his brilliant mathematical mind broke in that silence. A snail in a fedora hat sits on the edge of Jimmy's thick magnifying glass. She has fully and tightly withdrawn into her protective shell. No external sound on the desk will make her come back out. She is locked tight inside her own generated fears. Psychological first aid. In real life, we rarely end up in actual solitary confinement cells, but we very often lock ourselves in isolation during deep depression. We cut off contact, lie in the dark, and endlessly scroll the feed. To keep your brain from eating itself, create microstimuli. Listen to new complex music. Change your usual route to work. Force your brain to process absolutely new external data. Google SHU Syndrome, Stuart Gratian. Phenomenon 2, social death. A concept first described by the renowned sociologist Orlando Patterson. This is a terrifying state where society physically stops recognizing your existence. Jimmy shows the dossier of former FBI agent Robert Hanssen. In a DX prison, such inmates become true living ghosts. They no longer have names. They are only called by soulless numbers. They have zero impact on this world, and the world has zero impact on them. The snail slowly crawls across a smooth mirror on the detective's desk. She touches the cold surface, but her reflection is maximally blurred, as if she physically does not exist in our reality. Psychological first aid. Social death very often occurs in freedom as well. During an abrupt firing, a severe long-term illness, or moving to a foreign country, people lose their usual status and feel completely invisible. Rebuild your identity through any small social groups. Find a local hobby club or a highly active forum. You need an environment where your name will sound loud and carry weight again. Google Social Death Orlando Patterson. Phenomenon 3, Learned Helplessness. Jimmy turns the page of another dusty file. There lies the file of Thomas Silverstein, who spent 36 years in isolation. Remember how you just walked in circles in the empty pool and didn't ask for anything? These are the classic, cruel experiments of Martin Seligman on dogs. If a living creature is shocked for a long time without a single chance to escape, it simply stops resisting the circumstances forever. Even when the cage door is finally opened, it stays sitting inside. In a solitary cell, any action you take is totally pointless. The snail sits in front of the wide-open door of an empty matchbox. She does not move forward, even though the path to freedom is completely clear. She has just curled into a ball, waiting for the next strike. Psychological first aid. Learned helplessness is the main scourge of toxic corporate offices. You stop pitching ideas because management always rejects them. The only real cure in this situation is micro-victories. Do something that depends 100% only on your actions. Clean your desk, read a difficult book all the way to the end. Regain control over a small part of your own reality. Google Learned Helplessness, Martin Seligman. Phenomenon 4. The Lucifer Effect. A term by psychologist Philip Zimbardo from the famous Stanford prison experiment. Good people commit evil if the system gives them power and removes responsibility. Guards in ADX Florence are not born cruel sadists. The system of rigid iron protocols makes them that way. They don't see a living person in the inmate. They see an object of management. The snail puts on a tiny plastic prison guard badge. She arrogantly turns away from Jimmy's magnifying glass. Psychological first aid. A rigid corporate culture can make you ignore any ethics. Always ask yourself in controversial moments, is this my conscious decision or the decision of my job title? Maintain your internal moral compass, regardless of the uniform. Google Lucifer Effect, Philip Zimbardo. Phenomenon 5. Collective responsibility. In the step-down unit, one punch could cost 4 men their freedom. This is a powerful mechanism of social control. The group begins to strictly regulate its own members to avoid losing benefits. The guards don't need to intervene. The inmates will stop the violator themselves. The snail looks at 3 empty shells lined up in a row. If one falls, they all shatter. Psychological first aid. Collective responsibility is often used in business through team bonuses. Your success is tied to the success or failure of the entire department. Realize when peer pressure is driven not by friendship, but by fear of losing a bonus. Separate personal results from collective responsibility. Google Collective Responsibility Sociology.
Authors note Hollywood sells us the image of prison as an arena for epic gang clashes. Ingenious escapes. But the harsh reality of the maximum security system is stripped of any romance. There are no cafeteria fights because there are no cafeterias. There are no escapes because every step is calculated by an algorithm of concrete and steel. SHU Syndrome vividly shows us a very terrifying and naked truth. Our human mind is an incredibly fragile mechanism. It can only stably exist in constant contact with external reality. Social death is what methodically happens to people inside the walls of ADX. They are technically alive, but the world buried them irretrievably long ago. But the most terrifying thing in this penitentiary system is the banality of routine evil. The Lucifer effect and institutionalization do their work quietly. Ordinary guards are absolutely not bloodthirsty monsters. They are people who go home to their families after a shift, but inside the concrete walls. Protocol completely replaces their human empathy. We break down such dark places not for a cheap scare, but so you can realize right now the value of what you have. The freedom of choice. The sound of rain. A normal conversation. Your brain feeds on these moments. It is its fuel. Protect your neural pathways and never lock yourself in voluntary cages of learned helplessness. Make sure to check the community tab on our channel. That is where our entire community chooses the topic for the next investigation. Your voice literally decides the fate of our next episode. Leave comments and share your unique opinions. This has been the Detective Jimmy and Snail channel. See you soon in the shadows.